back to the Chicago Tomahawk. I'm Mike. Got my line mate Matt with me, and today we're going to go over these the entry draft that just finished this past weekend, and it was absolutely incredible. I'm still kind of like shocked over, Alex Debrincat being traded, and a lot of people were expecting it. I was kind of like 50-50 if we were going to let him go. I wanted them to get a haul back, and we didn't. We got a number 7 draft pick in this year's draft. This year's draft wasn't impressive. This wasn't the draft where you wanted to have a stack of picks for this draft. Next year's draft is the one where you wanted that, and I don't see. I don't see what Davidson was trying to do. We drafted, what's his name? Korchinski?
Yeah, Kevin Korchinski.
Kevin Korchinski. He's sort of like a Duncan Keith type of defenseman. I think he's coming in at 6'2", 185 pounds. So he's a bigger kid. And we also drafted Frank Kazar. And he's at 5'10", 175. These guys aren't done growing, but these are our top 2 picks. And who was the last guy that we got, man? I forgot his name.
Oh man, I just had it.
I just had it too.
Sam Rinzel.
Yes, he's another defenseman. And he's more of I think he skates really well too. That's one of his skills, and that he doesn't have a problem mixing it up. So he's about 6'3". I think he's at 175. So he's a skinnier guy. Needs to get a couple more pounds on him. But hey, we need draft picks. So I'm just going to say these guys haven't really had a chance to show what they got yet. We're not going to see these guys in the NHL for at least another 3 to 4 years. So hey, it is what it is. We didn't get a prospect that is ready to play now. We didn't even get a prospect that is somewhat close to ready. Matt, how do you feel about the haul that we got back?
You got more for Brandon Hagel. I mean,
yes.
We got 2 NHL caliber players. I mean, they're not studs or anything, but I mean, they could play. Radish, and I think it was that Boris Kachuk dude or whatever.
Yeah.
He's not bad. They're not bad players.
Yeah.
And we got 2 first-round picks with Hagel.
Right.
And I just feel like this was just a pointless trade. He just traded to trade, and he wants to, leave his print on this team, and he wants nothing to do with Bowman. I just don't see trading for an 18-year-old defenseman with 0 NHL experience. I know he's just been drafted, but we're trading away a 24-year-old 40-goal scorer. I think a 2-time 40-goal scorer.
Yeah, 2-time.
And yes, he plays with Patrick Kane, but you know what? Debrincat still has to shoot the puck, and the puck's going in. So I'm very unhappy with it. I thought that keeping Debrincat would have been the right thing to do, locking him up. And I just always go back to the Red Wings. Like, they were patient with Dylan Larkin. Dylan Larkin is 1 year older than Debrincat. Debrincat is, I think he's only got maybe 70 less points than him in 2 full seasons or whatever, but still, I think they should have kept him and built around him. And when the team is developing and right there ready to compete in the playoffs, Debrincat's going to be your captain.
Yeah.
And he's still going to be in his prime. He's going to be still less than 30 years old. I just think it was a mistake, and I think sometimes the best moves are the ones you don't make, and I think Davidson was just out to make a name for himself this draft, and Kirby Dach, man, I'm fine with getting rid of. That's fine. It's not working out here. The Bowman ruined him. Okay, give him another chance somewhere else. Hopefully he could find his game there. But I'm not really happy with the Debrincat trade.
Considering Kirby Dach's, only 21, it's kind of hard to, to kind of lump him in like as a bust, because considering the, what Bowman really threw him into is, would you really consider the kid, a bust?
No, he's not a bust. He what he needed was a change of scenery, and he's going to get it. Now he's going to play for Marty St. Louis.
Right.
Who knows how to bring out the best in players, obviously, because Cole Caulfield he was terrible at the beginning of the season, and once Marty came back, he was one of the best goal scorers in the league. So, hey, maybe they're hoping Marty can pull some magic with Kirby Dach, but he's not a bust. He's lucky to get a second chance. He's still young. He's going to be cheap probably for a year or two. It's a good move for Montreal. I think it's a good move, and it was a good move for us. We got some more picks out of it, and I wish we would have gotten more, like you said, for Debrincat.
Do you think that Davidson has already been talking to Kirby Dach's agent, and maybe his agent is giving an idea of what he thinks that Kirby Dach is looking for in a contract, and Davidson was like, no, and decided to move on from him?
He could have. I think at the end of the year meetings, Davidson knew, like, hey, I'm not going to have you. Obviously we got some reports today that he's not tendering an qualifying offer for Dominic Kubalik now. And last week it was Dylan Strome not getting an offer. So obviously no one was going to give us anything for these guys. He's got no choice. Just go ahead and walk. But obviously there was value with Dach. He's still young, a third round pick overall, and it got us some good stuff. But it could have been maybe he wanted some cash, but yeah, the Hawks absolutely ruined that poor kid. And you watch, he's going to come back and haunt. He's going to put up some, like, a 25 goal season one year, maybe like
25 goals,
50 assists or something. Yeah. So it happens, man. I mean, majority of our lives, we've been going through Hawks rebuilds. I think the early 90s were great. And I mean, I was too young to remember. I mean, the 91 season, I was probably watching the game, but I had a hockey stick in my hand and I was playing, not paying attention. But after that, it was 2003 or something with Jocelyn Thibault and Tony Amani kind of on the back nine. And that was the last good year. So it's been a lot of rebuilding going on. We're used to it. We're just hoping this one can go a little bit faster, because now, Davidson pretty much, I truly believe that he put us back another 2 years with Debrincat going, because you are not going to find a 40-goal scorer like that. They're not easy to find. Goal scorers are hard to find.
To hit the market.
And the happiest guy in the world right now has got to be Brady Tkachuk. And there's rumors of the Senators going all in for Claude Giroux. Can you imagine that line? Claude Giroux, great playmaker. Brady Tkachuk, like a two-way, mean, gritty guy, but he could score. And then you got a sniper in Debrincat. Man, that's going to be a great freaking line. So I am gonna follow the Sens this year, because I am a Cat fan. He's got a smile on his face all the time. He looks like he's having a great time. He loves the game. So I'm going to cheer for him, man. I like the Cat. I'm going to miss the Cat, man. It's really upsetting.
Yeah, it is. It is. He was a fan favorite. I liked his attitude, just like you said.
Smile on his face. He's happy.
It's like all the time, he just seemed like a happy guy. He was happy to be there. And to be honest with you, those are the kinds of things that you need out of a leader. And I don't know if what Davidson's thinking is that, they're moving on from like this and Seth Jones is going to be the future here type of a thing. But, would you go with that, Matt? Would you be like, you know what? Seth Jones is going to be our guy here. We're going to move on from the old guard. And they kind of lumped Debrincat in there just because, he's got some history with Kane. Do you think that that's what they're thinking here?
I have no idea. I think Seth Jones has got to be one confused human right now.
Yeah.
Bowman tried to pull like a last stand last year, and he tried. I give him credit for that. He brought in some, Marc-Andre Fleury, made a big trade to get Seth Jones, and Seth was great. I think
good on paper.
Seth Jones is a good player, man. I'm a big fan of him still. You can hate on the contract all you want, but when you're a very shitty team, the cap, it's not going to hurt you.
Right.
The cap only hurts you when you're a competitive Stanley Cup contender.
Right.
And the Colorado Avalanche are going to learn. They're probably going to lose a couple guys. They might lose their goalie. Kadri could walk. It's just, that's what happens when you're there. It's happened to us. It's amazing. We got to see 3 cups.
Yeah.
So that what I don't get is you could sign Cat. You could have signed him for 8 years at $10 million. It wouldn't have hurt anything. And it just because Seth was making what 9.5 this year.
Yeah. This coming season, he's going to make 9.5. This past year, he made 5.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't hurt us at all because we have cap space. We're going to have a lot of kids coming up, or it's going to be a mess. Actually, it's going to be very sloppy, a lot of mistakes. But that's what happens when you throw kids into the fire and you want them to. Sometimes I think this is bad because I want these picks to develop right. Like if you're going to throw Lucas Reichel in there next year and expect him to be like a god. It's not going to happen.
No,
and you're going to ruin the kid, and then you're going to trade him somewhere else for somebody like a Nylander, Yoki-Haru type of trade, and it's not going to put you anywhere. So I hope that they're still patient with these guys. They have to, like that Nolan Allen kid that we drafted. He's supposed to be a pretty solid defenseman. See, I just they need to stick to something and not. That's why you need an NHL player in return for Debrincat.
Right
now, you're going to be forced to bring up a kid that we don't have. And I mean, who's our best prospect? It's got to be Reichel, right? Lucas Reichel.
Yeah. You mean on offense?
Yeah, on offense.
Okay.
Yeah. Like who's going to replace Debrincat? Like on the wing now? It's going to be, and you're going to get rid of Kubalik. You're going to get rid of Strome. What are your plans here?
To tank for Connor Bedard.
Yeah,
I think that could be what he's trying to do.
Yeah, but even if you tanked and you won 5 games this year, it's still up to a Powerball type of thing, like a lottery. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee like the old ways. You know what I mean? It's not like, okay, let's call Lankinen back and let's sign Subban and we're going to just tank it this year. They're going to give up 6 goals a game. It wouldn't matter. You could be terrible and New Jersey or Phoenix can get it because they're terrible too. So that's it's a gamble. You still, I know it's too risky. What is it, like 18% or 20%? You only
18%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that great. It should be like the last place team, like the Edmonton Oilers were all those years, getting all those picks.
Oh,
I mean, and they still botched.
And they both, I was just gonna say they still sucked.
That's what I know. This kid is supposed to be like the next. I'm not saying Connor McDavid, but the Connor McDavid like player. You can draft him and he might make the jump to the NHL.
Right.
But this last draft, like you said, the freaking guys that were ranking these prospects, it was all out of whack, man.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even close. They're like, wow, this guy went 11. I had him as number 2. That's just it's the COVID years. I mean, you got no games to judge these guys by. And I was talking to my father-in-law today. He was a former scout for the Sudbury Wolves in the I think it's the OHL. Yeah, I believe they're in the OHL, and he doesn't get the college how you draft a college player because these guys only play like 18 games a season.
Right.
And they play like on the weekends and stuff.
And you know what?
You know what I
just
mean?
To further your point,
jump.
Just to further your point, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
100%, because how many Hobie Baker winners become successful NHL players?
Not many. I think the last one was probably Eichel. And you know what? Eichel really hasn't done much. Maybe he's had a couple good seasons, but he's already been traded. He's got a bad neck injury already. I mean, the injuries aren't his fault, but it's just like you're going to draft these college guys. They play 18 games a season, and they play on the weekends. They don't play like these junior guys do. These junior guys are almost like an NHL-like schedule. They're playing every other day. They're traveling all over. These guys are taking road trips every weekend. We're playing 2 games playing the same team twice. So it's risky, man. You got to be really careful when you're drafting. Like, and he made a good point, and I was like, wow, I never really thought of that. And it's just I think these junior players are probably. I think Bedard is he in the WAHL right now?
I'd have to check.
So he's supposed to be like that guy who can make that jump, which would be great. The Hawks are gonna need a guy you can rally around, like Kane when we drafted Kane, and even Taves. Kane made that jump. I know Taves stayed back a year, but that would absolutely amp the fan base. Like, oh, this guy, we got him. But I still like going back to the main point. 18%. That's not a really good odd. It's not good odds to get that first round pick. So you watch Phoenix, Jersey, Philadelphia. I could see being bad this year. Maybe Seattle again. They can get it too. It's just going to put you back. It's just a matter of luck. That's all it is.
Yeah. You know what, dude, I see, I truly do. I do see where you're at. And I think we're just trying to make sense of what's going on. You know, I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what's going on with the Blackhawks. And for some reason, you've got Rangers fans, you know, because there's a rumor that the Rangers need to go all in to try to get Patrick Kane. And a lot of Rangers fans are saying that, you know, they don't want him. So what I say to that is, apparently you don't want to take the next step because Kaner's a game breaker. As a matter of fact, he won the game-winning goal in 2010 to seal the Blackhawks' first Stanley Cup in like 60 years. So, and he was absolutely pivotal in every single cup run that they had. And he's still a 90-point player. A little over a point per game player, and they don't want a guy like this. As a matter of fact, yeah, sure, they got the bread man, but you know what? The bread man was a hell of a lot better when he played with Patrick Kane. What do you think about that, Matt?
Yeah, I've been seeing that trend on Twitter too. We don't want Patrick Kane. Keep Showtime out of New York, and fine, don't win the Stanley Cup because this is like you said, he's the game breaker that can get you over the hump, which you guys cannot get over that hump. Yes, you have a great goalie. You got Chris Kreider, who put in 50 plus this year. Impressive. The Breadman, we know the Breadman well. We're still pissed off about that. But there's chemistry with the Breadman and Kane. These guys were making no-look passes to each other every night, making it look easy. This Breadman helped Kaner get the heart.
Yeah.
And I always credit Kane giving Breadman all that money.
Right.
I mean, he helped him get that deal.
Yeah.
I know Breadman's good, but he wasn't as good as he was on Columbus as he was with the Hawks. So I don't understand it. They don't really give you a reason. They just say we don't want him. Maybe because of his past or something, which okay. I mean, there's no angels. I mean, he's a hockey
about
player.
The taxi cab thing?
I honestly don't know. I'm not gonna make stuff up or anything.
Sure.
But maybe that's what some people, they don't want anything to do with that or whatever. Okay, but still, he's been very professional since all this crap has happened to him. He's been very He's talked to the media and said, "Hey, I'm innocent. I didn't do any of this stuff." And you know what? He hasn't lied about anything, and he's been cleared. So I don't know how you could hold a grudge on this guy. He's a 3-time Cup champion. He's been an MVP one season. He's virtually had no center the last decade here. He's got new line mates every year. He's lost the Breadman. He's lost Debrincat now.
And he's still putting up a point per game.
Exactly. Somebody on this team next year will be the next guy that's going to benefit off Kane.
He's going to be I mentioned on our Twitter space the other day. He's going to turn Sam Lafferty and Reese Johnson into all-stars.
He could even maybe Reichel makes the team and he makes Reichel the next beast, but I just don't understand that. And now, they're so arrogant, these fans. They're like, oh, yeah, we're right there. You know what? You guys weren't even close against Tampa. I'm sorry. Tampa had a lousy game. They were watching. They swept the team before them. They were watching, and New York had the momentum because they were playing. They were in the rhythm. You guys weren't even close. And you're going to now, if you had Kaner and you signed maybe some other pieces, like another center or something, what are you whining about? He has 1 year left in his deal, and I'm sure Davidson is so stupid he'll pay for more than half of the cap. It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
I just don't see why. You don't have to. Maybe you don't have to get him right away. Maybe you can get him at the trade deadline for the last 20 games of the season, and then you got him in the playoffs. I would be thrilled to have Kaner.
Do you think the Rangers have another season like they did last year?
Well, if you keep burning your goalie out, you're going to do the same thing you did with Lundqvist. He's a great goalie, but if you're going to overwork him and depend on him every game, it's not going to always go the best. I think they need to score more goals. Panarin needs to perform in the playoffs, and maybe add some defensive pieces. I mean, they got some good players, Adam Fox, Panarin, Zibanejad, but still, they're not. Those guys aren't Patrick Kane. They're not even close to Patrick Kane. I mean, if I'm Chris Drury right now, I'm saying, okay, the Hawks are cleaning house right now. Davidson is very trigger happy with trades right now. Throw over like I'm not saying it could happen, but like a Kako type guy. He was that second overall pick behind Hughes and right before Kirby Dach. Give him a chance. Give him a new chance. They trash that poor kid. Like, oh, he sucks. He sucks. And he was a healthy scratch in the last playoff game.
Yeah.
So maybe send him this way with Kane and maybe a pick, another prospect or whatever. And you guys got a 3-time Cup MVP playoff clutch performer. And his nickname is Showtime. New York is one of the biggest stages in the world. They would be crazy not to want him. So I would actually root for the Islanders to actually steal Patrick Kane just so he could just like embarrass these Ranger fans and just humiliate the Rangers, because I just don't get it. I think any other team and any other fan base would kill to have a Patrick Kane if he was available for a year and half salary, probably at $5 million. It ain't gonna hurt anything. So they should rethink what they're saying.
Yeah. I'll tell you this right now. Chris Kreider doesn't score 50 goals next year, and if Chris Kreider's not scoring 50 goals, they're not winning as many games.
Well, yeah, it's impressive, 50 goals. But like I said,
he's a 30-goal scorer. He just had one. He just really peaked this year.
I liked him, and the Rangers fans are real tough on him.
Yeah, they are.
And you know what? He shut him up this year, and he probably sold more jerseys in New York than any other guy, just because, 50 goals is a big deal. But like I said before, you got a goalie that is pretty elite. Like, he's close to Vasilevsky. But if you burn him out, you're just creating another Lundqvist, and you got to help him. You need to give him support and balance the team out. You can't rely on him too much. That's why a Kaner, you bring him in and maybe you sign him for 3 years. You got 3 solid years of winning the cup with that guy instantly.
Right. Yeah, man. There's been a lot of I'm just flabbergasted that New York wouldn't want a player like Patrick Kane. He could totally, especially with the goaltending that they had last year, he could have been a huge difference maker for him.
They don't give you any reasons either. They just say keep Showtime out of New York. They're not, and you say, okay, why? Oh, we need a center. And then I think I don't know who I was talking to, but I said, okay, what about Claude Giroux? He's too expensive. He's almost 37 years old. How you're not going to get a better center than Claude Giroux this year? Yeah,
I'm surprised he doesn't want to stay in Florida.
I don't know. It could. He could. I've been hearing Ottawa's going all in. They want a center in between Brady and Debrincat, I heard, and that team wants to make the next step, trying to get into the playoffs. I know they've been building for a while. They got some good young prospects, but. I could see Florida. I think he enjoyed his time there. And now that they got, I think they signed Paul Maurice to be their head coach. I heard he's a player's coach. The guys like him, and maybe that'll keep Claude down there.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. That's really, those are really like the top things that I really wanted to get into is Debrincat, Kirby Dach, Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
Just these rumors. And now that the draft is over with, are you hearing any free agency rumors?
Well, we did have some signings in the last couple days. Adrian Kempe from the Kings, who's a pretty solid player. He signed a 4-year deal. He had a career year this year. Philip Forsberg agreed to an 8-year deal with the Predators. I think he's around $8 million a year, which is a pretty fair deal.
Yeah,
he's a good player. I don't, we're never gonna compliment the Preds, but he's a good player.
He is.
And actually, Georgiev was traded to the Avalanche, and he instantly signed a 3-year deal, and that just means goodbye, Darcy Kemper.
That's crazy, man.
It is very crazy. And
they don't like
Tony
their goalies there.
Dude, you know what? you know what? They got enough to win. It's like almost like Niemi. We win with Niemi. It's like, yeah, we don't care. See you later.
Yeah.
But, you know, I thought Darcy Kemper was, he was pretty good. You know, he wasn't, you know, out like a Vasilevsky, you know, stealing games or anything, but he you know, he did his job. He got hurt. I know he had a very dangerous eye injury, and he came back. He won the Stanley Cup. And I know that he's probably going to test free agency, and Jack Campbell, I guess, is going to test free agency from Toronto.
Wow.
Which is very surprising because I thought he was a very good goalie this year. I had him on fantasy. He put up some great numbers for me, got me some wins, and they were just they're really tough on the goalies up there. And you know, we always say it with Freddie Anderson. That guy needed a change of scenery. He had a good season with the Hurricanes. Maybe Jack Campbell's going to want to get paid and try somewhere else. But I'm really surprised by Toronto with that because he's got to be at a cheaper rate. You know, he's not like a big name goalie, but I thought he was pretty damn good this year. But I guess we'll see when when is free agency? Is that this week?
It's usually a week after the draft.
Yeah, usually it's July 1st. I know it's all kind of out of whack and everything, but yeah. And then we've got reports of the Oilers finally admitting
July 13th.
July 13th. So that is
3 days.
3 days. Okay.
At noon.
So the Oilers are making a search for a top goalie their top priority, according to Kenny Howland. And like we just talked about,
Jack Campbell,
Darcy Kemper, and Jack Campbell. And I think Darcy Kemper is going to probably look a little better because he won the Cup. But I think if I'm Kenny Howland, I'm going after Jack Campbell.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, he had a great squad last year, though, too, and he couldn't win it. And Darcy Kemper, actually, if you really want to, you know, compare apples to apples, Darcy Kemper played Tampa and beat them.
Yeah, he beat the champs.
And
yeah.
Jack Campbell couldn't do that, even though Jack Campbell looks more talented and he looks like a better goalie.
You know what? Let's look at the stats. Darcy Kemper is 32, and Jack Campbell, I believe, is 30. So I'm obviously going to go younger because it just makes more sense. Maybe you sign him for like a 4-year, $6 million, like $24 million contract. And you keep McDavid happy because this guy, he can win. He had 31 wins this year. And yes, the teams are totally different. But if McDavid has a goalie that can, you know, steal some games and stop a shot from the blue line, he'll be fine. Mike Smith is not the guy. Kostitskin is not the guy. So I think I'd go with the Jack Campbell. Darcy Kemper, nothing against him. He had a good season, but I think Darcy's going to want to get paid because he really never got that big payday. He's kind of rotting away in the desert, and he got traded to the Avalanche, and it was like a blessing. You know,
right.
He just had to get dressed some games and just stop 10 shots. But I think Jack can go through the grind. You know, they relied on him a lot. You know, their defense isn't that great. Their offense is really good. It's kind of similar, but I think the Maple Leafs do have a better defense right now than the Edmonton Oilers. But hey, they had Jack Campbell to back them up too. That's something that McDavid has never had a starting goalie. So
right.
I would probably predict one of those guys will end up on the Oilers.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Free agency is the 13th. Maybe on the 13th that night we'll do a Twitter space.
Yeah, let's do it.
If you guys want to jump on, we'll do it at, how about we do it at like 7 or 8 p.m.
Yeah, we'll talk about all the top free agents and where they ended up and who's still available, stuff like that. Maybe some trades.
All right, we'll do it 7:30 Central on Wednesday, July 13th. If you guys want to jump on and listen, we'll go over the first day of free agency. That's typically one of the biggest days. I'd probably say the first 72 hours is pretty big for free agency. After that, it kind of trails off.
You got any predictions?
No.
I know Johnny Hockey and I'd say Malkin are the top dogs right now.
I don't know how Malkin could be a top dog, man.
I don't either, but he's got, the biggest name that's not signed. And it's kind of weird, Johnny Hockey. If he leaves Calgary, that would be so weird.
I think
Very
he sticks
weird.
around.
He should. That team's close.
They're really close.
The thing
Unless
is now,
Colorado's like, hey, do you want to come over here?
yeah, exactly.
You
They
know?
pay him. Well, Chris Letang signed that 6-year deal, with the Penguins. So it's like it makes you wonder about Malkin. Like,
He's
hey,
been solid for him, man, and he plays.
yeah, he plays 27 minutes a game. He had a career year. I think the Penguins made the right decision. The Penguins always make the
Absolutely.
right decisions. That's why they're such a good franchise still.
Right.
And I got tons of respect for that franchise.
I think it's a good idea to let Malkin walk. I mean, the guy only plays 50 games a year, and he wants $10 million.
Yeah, I know they're all close, and he won 3 cups with them and everything. But yeah, what did he play? 41 games last year. Yes, he got 42 points, but I mean that does you no good if
Right.
you're hurt. He's almost at 1,000 games, and it's what, the guy's a stud. He's a great hockey player, but he just can't stay healthy. He's 35, and like you said, every year it's something.
It's not going to
Back,
get any better.
knee. No, he's fighting it.
Yeah.
He needs to be shut down for a year, I think.
Yeah,
And
that might be it for him then.
yeah, and he can, he's just going to get slower and lose a spot to a young guy. But I mean, he's competing. I just can't see him in any other jersey but a Penguins jersey. Maybe he'll take a super huge discount, but I can't see him anywhere else. Honestly, I don't know who would take him.
Not for $10 million.
Maybe Kyle Davidson will trade a 2nd-round pick for his rights the way he trades, but that'd be so weird. Malkin as a Blackhawk for a year, just to keep the fans interested. Yeah, let's go watch Malkin play 20 games a year. Like when we first got Havlat, that was a big deal.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was excited,
I
and
know.
he gets hurt 8 games in, and he's like 10 points in 8 games. I'm like, oh, can you imagine what he would do if he was healthy? And next year, same thing, 30 games. Then the next year, he plays 80 games. He's got like 90 something points, and I want to get paid, and goodbye. So
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah, memories.
Well, all right, everybody. We're gonna do a Twitter Space Wednesday, 7:30 Central. We'll see you then. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. This is the Tomahawk. We're out of here.